So hello everyone, hope you're well. Right, so today I was talking with Gingy and with Telmo, and I had a little thought about doing live about one of the classes that we've done before, because I've had lots of people ask me about this this particular script. So I thought we'd have a quick look at the Textualis Quadrata that I do. I know lots of you do some sort of Gothic script. So I thought I would give you a little bit more insight into my approach to the script. So I've pinned the class that you can find it on Teachable. So this is the lecture. So what we did was we had an amazing lecture on the history of the script. I think, you know, showing you guys, those of you who didn't attend the class, showing you how the script worked and why the script works the way it works, I think would be really, really useful. Equally, I am working on a big project using this Textualis Quadrata script. And I showed a little bit of Textualis the other day as I was writing some text. I think it's just here. Let me just grab this sheet. I did a post on this, which was this. I've added some text to the bottom of it, which was this. And I filmed all of this, and I didn't press record. And so when I came to posting it, I didn't have it. So I had to then write from text. Text is all from here to down here. And it sort of made me realize that, you know, the thing about Textualis Quadrata is it is a sacred script. When you see Latin written in Textualis Quadrata, something truly magical happens. It really just resonates at a beautiful frequency. So I thought it would be nice to just sit back and do a little bit of Textualis. So I'm not really going to talk while I'm doing the writing, because I really want to concentrate on this. I'm leaning the phone back a little bit so that, you know, you could really see what's happening with the nib. Textualis Quadrata is generally written at 4 nib widths, 4 to 6 nib widths. If you're just joining us, then sit back and take a nice deep breath and enjoy the writing. Glasses. Completely forgot. I'm looking at the page. I'm like, why is the page not looking good? Much better. The joys of getting old. So remember to mark off so that you know where you're working. All right, so we have quite a lot of stuff to look at here. We have some beautiful sort of parallel shapes, and if you look at the distance from here to here and the distance from there to there, they're the same. This should fit into this space. All the angles are the same, they're all lining up. So we have that beautiful verticality, and we have that consistent diagonal pointing. Look at the space, look at the space, look at the little fishtail flick here on the N and the I. And then even with the D, that longer lozenge is at the same angle as the lozenge down here. So notice that 45 degree is still there for the quadrants and the lozenges. Beautiful little hairline flick. I don't know if you noticed while I was writing that I would go back in and touch just there, and with the corner of the nib pull that little air out from the ink. So I didn't do it on the how. But here I curved, even though I'm curving the D. Do you see how this is still at 45 degrees? So I've come around that corner. I'm staying at the 30 degrees because of course I use quite a lot of geometry in my Textualis Quadrata. So that, remember, this is my geometric form of Textualis Quadrata. It's not an historical form. It gives a really good basis for moving into the Textualis Quadrata of the Middle Ages. But trying to understand how that works without understanding where the quadrants and lozenges line up with the downstrokes is quite problematic. And I hope you also noticed that I did the downstroke and then I did 3 strokes and then I started on the 3rd stroke. So that's how I space my letters. I use this really interesting ghosting technique. It's so wonderful to see this kind of writing system because it's very relaxing, it's very rhythmic. I think one of the big problems that lots of calligraphers have is they approach the writing so quickly. And when you're writing quickly, you really sort of lose that patience with the writing. Of course, the other thing, and this is Instagram to blame a lot for this, is speeding up the videos. I never speed my videos up, so I'm going to write at a smaller X height. Now, I can feel that there's some issues here with the tool. It's not sharp enough. So I have an Arkansas stone here. So I'm just going to sharpen it on the Arkansas stone. I sharpen the top as well. And I just take the burr off the end. Oh, much sharper. Look at how much sharper that is. So it's very peaceful, it's very calming, it's very simple. You just really have to take your time with the writing. The nibs are, these are William Mitchell nibs. So this is a William Mitchell 1. That's the big one. And then this is a 3.5. And I'm using the Monteverdi Joy ink. So this is the ink that you've all been seeing for a little while. Absolutely loving this ink, really enjoying the color. Look at the depth and the gradation and the variation. I mean, so beautiful, really wonderful patination. So which is best to use, parallel, pilot, parallel pens or nibs? I've tons of parallel pens. Let's, you know, as Mugi, as seeing that you've asked this, let's have a look at some of the parallel pens. This is a 3.8. So with the 3.8, obviously we're going to need to measure up. So I'll work at 4.5 nib widths. Because I missed the second M out. And the thing to note here is you have really beautiful, sharp, accurate lines. Really lovely, really amazing. A nib works in a very different way to a parallel pen. You know, with a nib, if you apply a little bit of pressure, you can get a little bit of, you can see the tine spreading there. You can't get that with a parallel pen. So sometimes, you know, depending on what you're trying to do, you know, the parallel pens work equally well. Of course, they now come in 2 additional sizes. This is the 2.4. Let's see what size this would be. So we'll do a nice tall Textualis again. And notice I'm not pressing. I'm not pressing on the tip. I'm resting the tip on the page. And I am writing. I'm not pressing in order to get the shapes. course, a lot of the shapes that you can produce with a parallel pen come, the shapes you need with Textualis comes a little bit easier with a parallel pen because of how the ink flows and because of the shape of the nib. I was taught when you're sharpening a nib to sharpen in a figure of 8 pattern like so. I do this anti-clockwise and then I do clockwise, and then I push back and forth on the top, and then I just take the corners off, because sometimes the corners, once you've done that, the corners get really, really sharp, and if they're that sharp, they can cut into the paper. Ah, joy. The 2.4 and the 1.5, they are sharp. So let's sort of look at this. This is probably going to turn into a parallel pen sort of demonstration more than anything else. Let's look at them in relation to each other. Now my desk is actually set up for some Textualis, so everything is sliding down the desk. Give me a second. Let me just flatten the desk a little bit. Okay, there we go. So let's look at the 2.4s and the 1.5 right now. Obviously picking up the worst, the mankiest nib. I hope Pilot never see me do that. They'll be like, why is that nib so dirty? So if we look at these, right, you can get so remember, lift up and in, because if you lift up and out, you can pluck out of the ink. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So remember, in Textualis Quadrata, the M is written with 9 strokes and not just 3. If you do this, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. That is not Textualis Quadrata, that is Textualis Semiquadrata. So this is the 2.4. That's still very sharp. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I think the reason why people tend to find them not as sharp is because they're probably pressing too hard. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Writing at smaller sizes tends to be more difficult, so you have to be a little bit more careful with the tool. I've just flipped the tool, so I'm writing on the top side now, and I find the top side is better than the underside. So it just takes a little bit more time, a little bit more patience with the practice. Just grab this and give you a look of the writing from my angles. This is what I was seeing. Obviously it's much sharper. You really can see. Let's zoom in a little bit. You can really see how sharp these hairlines are, which is very typical of using a dip nib. And these are reasonably sharp. This is great, a great tool for beginner. But I always tell people, if you're going to work with parallel pens, make sure that you're aiming to want to work with nibs as well, because our parallel pen work, or broad edge nib work, comes from working with nibs. In fact, if you're planning on working with nibs, then really you should be planning on working with quills eventually. So maybe I'll show you some quill work. Let's grab a quill. So it is 3 lines. And the horns that we get from the quill, so much nicer. It's so much more beautiful to write with. Obviously a little bit of fracture there because, you know, you have to. Now, I can see how blunt the lines are. This quill needs recutting. The edge needs a little bit of shaving down just at the top there, just to sharpen it off a little bit. Quill ASMR, definitely. I think a lot of people would complain about the sound as well. Some people absolutely hate hearing the nibs sort of screeching across the page. So, you know, actually, I've just turned this around. I might as well do a little bit more work. So if you wanted to decorate your Textualis, you could add some lighter line work to it. I'll use the quill work because it's already there and it's at the bottom. So we're doing the right and the bottom. And you could even go in here and you could hatch some of this. You could hatch the inside of it if you wanted to create depth. There's so much possibility here. You could even go in and add some flourishing, or you could add some fracture decoration to some of these letters. So there's a ton of possibility. Of course, there is a lecture and a workshop on flourishing on the Teachable site. So by all means, go to the Teachable site and avail yourself of some of the magic that we have up there. Just move this back. Yeah, I have some other stuff on the desk and I just thought, oh, do I move all of this? So brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your great questions and some of your funny comments. So don't forget this, I'll do a live on Friday at 5, where I will cover I'll cover the manual that we're looking at, the workbook that we're going to use for the small caps class, which is on Sunday. It's going to be a great class on Sunday to give you a really interesting set of capitals to work with for broad edge script and for pointed pen script, but small. Really, really quite fascinating. All right, so have a great evening where you are. Have a great afternoon. Have a great morning, and I will see you guys. I'll see you guys later in the week. Bye bye.